Hi, I'm your host Vasco Duarte. Welcome to the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast, where we share tips and tricks from Scrum Masters around the world. Every day, we bring you inspiring answers to important questions that all Scrum Masters face day after day. On Fridays, we talk about the product owner role in Scrum. We talk about patterns and anti-patterns that relate to ours and the team's collaboration with the product owner. And we've also put together a course to help you navigate that relationship. There's 18 modules, nearly 8 hours of tools, techniques, videos, handouts, presentations you can use to help you and your team work better with your product owner. The course is available at bit.ly/coach-your-PO. All lowercase, all one word. That's bit.ly/coach-your-PO. And now, on to the show, the Product Owner Show. Hello everybody, welcome to our TGIF and Product Owner episode this week with Ali Azl. Hey Ali, welcome back.
Thank you, and happy Friday.
Absolutely, happy Friday. Well, we're going to start with a sad story, but we'll come up with a good story right after that, so stay tuned and wait for that. But first, let's dive into, Ali, what might have been potentially the worst product owner anti-pattern you've witnessed in your career. Share that with us.
Sure. I worked for this organization where they would hire graduates. So they would hire, because they were cheap, they wanted to save money. So what they would do, they would hire the cheapest person. Then they can basically tell them what to do, so they can control them easier. It was a bit weird idea, but it worked for them. So they would hire these product owners, and they will come in and they'll have no experience, and they'll just basically they'll focus on the wrong things. So the one of the anti-patterns I still see, unfortunately, even with some experienced product owners, is that they focus on the wrong things. They come in and they try and help the team to estimate, or they want to estimate as well with the team. I mean, unless you're coding, I don't think you should be
Or testing.
Or testing, yeah. So it's I find it so weird, so strange when they focus on outputs rather than the outcomes. It's like, just, you tell us the value, you tell us what the customer. You're the voice of the customer. We wouldn't go to a customer in the street and you stop them and ask them how to develop. We just talk about what they want to see. And this anti-pattern I've seen so many times is like the product owner gets involved way too much into the nitty-gritty things of the team. It's fine to know about it. If you want to be part of it, that's fine. Sit down and listen, but don't try to influence the team. I'll give you this is a funny story I always tell in my training sessions. We had a product owner, brand new product owner, come into our planning. This was her second planning. So she's seen how we did planning poker. So we had a junior developer who's been there 3 months, and we had a senior developer who's been there 6 months. So the senior developer put the card up, said 20. This is going to take 20 story points, effort. And the junior put 3. The product owner turned around. This is not a straight face. This is just not a joke. And she said, "Can we get the person who said 3 points to do the work, because they can do it faster?" It turns out the story was actually more like a 40 than a 20. Even the senior Scrum Master, the senior developer, underestimated. So, yeah.
So the PO was acting towards the developers as the organization was acting towards the PO. Let's get the cheapest one.
Yes. Like, just focus on what you need to focus on, the outcomes, focus on value, focus on, the important areas. Don't, who cares if a team does 20 story points in a sprint and they should do 25?
Story points don't actually mean anything.
Exactly.
By the way,
it's arbitrary. Yeah, it's arbitrary. You can make it up.
In the origin of story points, I'm sure that many of our listeners have heard this before, but I'll just reiterate it. In the origin of story points, they weren't story points; they were called gummy bears, because the team who was working on that was working across the factory where they produce gummy bears. So these sweet gummy bears, and so they just used gummy bears to make sure that people could not confuse that with time. Story points were later on baptized and also used with the intention of not being confused with time. And of
Yes,
course, they ended up being exactly confused with
confused
time,
with.
as your story just illustrated.
Yeah. Well, the irony of it is the person who came up with the story points, his name, I have his book. For some reason, I've forgotten his name now. But I follow him on Twitter as well. He basically apologized for
Oh yeah,
introducing
oh yeah. Ron Jeffries has
Ron Jeffries.
publicly
That's it. Yes.
apologized for
Yes.
being part of, not the
Yes.
one, but being part of the story of story points.
Yes.
But
It's
enough with
misused.
the bad
Yeah.
stories. Now
Yes.
let's look at the good stories. So Ali, share with us, what did the best product owner that you've ever worked with, what did they do? How were they able to be so good for themselves, of course, but also the team and the organization?
I think a good product owner for me. There's loads of blogs out there you can read, and there's loads of videos what a good one looks like. But the best ones I've ever worked with have always had empathy with the customer, empathy to the organization, empathy to the developers and testers who are going to be doing the work. Is key to be a human when you are coming into an organization and you want to build things. Is knowledge is key, of course. It's good to have if you have knowledge, but knowledge you can learn, but it's hard to learn empathy. You either have it or you don't. I mean, you can work very hard. I'm sure you can get it, but it's just being good at your job is not enough, I think, because you're demanding work from a group of people, or or you're demanding feedback. You have to be good at taking feedback and using it, converting it into achievable things that the team is going to work on.
Did this PO that you have in mind, did they have like a specific approach to collecting that feedback you're just talking about?
Well, it was just this PO I'm talking about. It would actually go to the store, stand outside the store. Anybody that would come out of the store with a bag that they've purchased from that shop would stop them and ask them questions to understand the experience, to get feedback on the ground. I mean, I've not seen many people do that. This person would actually, it was a bit weird because I went with him once and he had a list of questions. I thought, it's like, wow, you got some weird confidence there. Some random people in the street to ask them, and then we worked out that, for example, this product that we were selling, most of them, because it was so expensive, it was mostly parents buying the product. Our product was for young people. So if we built the product for young people, we were building it for the wrong audience, because the audience who were using our app to buy these products were actually people who were over 40, 45, 50. So if you just made it all colorful, pink and screen, like all, fun and hip.
YouTube generation type.
Yes, we would have actually built the wrong product. But this product owner was so in tune with the customer clientele, because he will talk to them, he'll ask them questions, he'll say, what could have, how could your experience be better? What could we have done different? It is all things that, I mean, I'm talking of this 10 years ago. So the things that organizations do now, that person was doing then. It was amazing to see this, and the passion, and you got to have passion, and you got to be, and most important, if you're a product owner, you need to be available. Please be available to your team. Being a product owner is not just going into meetings or doing Excel spreadsheets and sending it to,
and not just available in the sense of being there, but available in the sense that when they ask a question that you don't know the answer for, you do the job of getting the answer for them, right? Yes. Like, because that's one of the things that so being available, of course, means being if nothing else, at least available to answer questions, to be in the specific ceremonies where you're needed, but also visiting the other ceremonies. Like POs should be in the daily meeting if they can, because they get a lot of information. They have the opportunity to be asked the questions that are important for the team to be able to progress. But being available also means for example, in my mind, it means, okay, so actually, I don't know the answer to that question, but why don't you come with me? Let's go and talk with, so-and-so, and let's figure it out together. That's also being available.
What is important for you individually might be very different to what is important for your customer. So it's just being in tune with your customer, working with them, and getting those feedback and being on the pulse is key as a product owner. So it's not just, just turn up and say, I want this. I want this color. I want that's maybe 5% of your job. The other 95% is actually identifying what is valuable to build.
Absolutely. That was a deep dive into the product owner universe. Ali, we're getting close to the end though. So before we do go, do share with us, where can people find out more about you and the work that you're doing?
Well, the easiest way to find me would be on LinkedIn. It's I'm not really on Twitter that much. I do have a Twitter account handle, but I don't really use it that much. But I did have a podcast as well, but I haven't recorded anything in like a year and a half. That was a COVID thing.
That's good. But do share the link with me so I can share it with our listeners. We'll put it up on the show notes for sure.
Will do. Thank you.
Ali, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for your generosity with your time and your knowledge.
Thank you.
One more week of the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast is over, but there's a lot more we have to share. We have developed our own membership site where you find a community of active and engaged Scrum Masters. In this site, you get access to exclusive content and get to interact with us, your podcast hosts, as well as the best Scrum Masters in the world. Join us at scrummastertoolbox.com/podcast and keep this podcast free of advertising. See you next week for one more week full of Scrum Master tips and tricks. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.